There is nothing worse than untapped potentials. If you know that you're made for more, this is the place. I know that every successful person I've ever met has one thing in common. They do not let themselves fall victim to their circumstances. They figure out a way to rise above it. So join me on this journey where I help you to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business. If you're feeling stuck and you're needing some practical tools, some hope to get you to that better life, this is definitely the place for you.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. I'm your host, lachellewieme, and today we get a chance to chat with well-being and habit coach Anna Lawrence. You guys, if you are somebody who's been stuck in perfection, you've been stuck in like the inability to keep habits, Anna is going to be such a treat for you. So we are in for an amazing, amazing conversation. Anna, thanks so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. A great way to start off my week.
I know, right? So you guys, I'm just going to say that Anna and I both, I think this is kind of a fun part of our story, and you guys kind of get some behind the scenes and things. So Anna and I met a couple weeks ago where we do something called a discovery call where I get a chance to meet the prospective interviewees and to make sure that we have good chemistry, right? Anyway, so I show up because if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Like, I'm stubborn that way. And so I would consider myself like, you know, an overcomer and resilient and gritty. And it turns out that Anna is the same because she also had COVID and she had committed to our little conversation and she showed up. And so in our, you know, just back and forth, we discovered that we were both sick. And I just love the fact that there's other people out there like me, Anna, that were just willing to show up to make sure that we're impeccable with our word, right? Who have that integrity and say that we're going to do something and follow through. And I think that that's so powerful because it's going to tie into a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today, right? Is really just being impeccable with our word and habits and all the things. And so I'm really excited for a conversation. So Anna, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do and how you serve people?
Yeah, definitely. And I will add too, just about the whole COVID thing. It was hilarious because we were both so energetic and just like feeling good. And Lachelle was like, I'm just going to be honest, I have COVID. And I was like, I have got COVID too. But like, I would have never guessed had you not told me. So I just wanted to add that. I thought that was kind of a little comical. But yeah, I'm Anna Lawrence. I really kind of started my habit journey in 2019, kind of unexpectedly in the summer of 2019, but really with purpose and intention in December of 2019. I had just moved up to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and I was really feeling just lost. I felt like there were so many things in my life that I started and didn't finish. And I'm one of those people. I want to do it all. I'm seeing all the sparkly things and I'm like, that. And I tried everything. I'm not kidding. I invested a certain amount of money. I, got accountability partners. I told people what I was doing. I thought I checked all the boxes to commit and to follow through. And so by the time 2019 ran around, I had been out of college for a year. I had traveled and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I think in an effort to figure out what I wanted to do, I kept trying all these things and again, not following through on them. And so I wanted to get to the bottom of that. I wanted to understand why. And so I really was able to commit. I gave myself the space to commit to understanding this process. And that kind of got me into the learning and educating myself on habits and habit loops and how your environment and the people you surround yourself with and your passions have an impact. And I think like so many people, I was really impacted by social media and by what I was seeing on everybody else's page. And so I was tricking myself into thinking that that's what I wanted, whether it was, for the money, whether it was for the exposure. It was all very it was surface level stuff. And I wasn't connecting to my deep why. And this is something that I work on with my clients because we all get so sucked into what other people are doing. And so when I gave myself that space and really committed to understanding why I wasn't committing, everything changed really. And I was able to find what I truly loved and what I was truly passionate about and not worry about what it would look like or sound like to other people. And once I was able to let go of all of that, that was when everything changed for me. And that was when I really created a reliable routine that I loved. And yeah, it was a really, really cool process. I could talk about it for hours and hours.
Get into the meat of it, which I'm so excited. So would you say that the people that come to you for help are, struggling with what?
Some of the biggest objections that I hear are I don't have enough time in my day. I start too quickly, too soon, with too much, right? So it easily leads to overwhelm. I know, and that was my situation to a T. I would feel totally motivated and just like in this space where I'm like, I'm ready to change my whole life. I want to change my exercise routine. I want to change my diet. I want to drink 5 gallons of water a day. All of these things, just so unrealistic. But it was just that state of being that I was in. And I think this is something that a lot of women struggle with, is taking on too much too fast, not taking into account the days where you feel sick, right? Where, your kids need you to pick them up from school, where work goes late, or if you just feel lazy, right? If you're just tired. We don't take those days into account when we are planning for these goals. And so that's the downfall that I see a lot of women run into, is because they have this idea of perfection. And again, I'm a recovering perfectionist. Like, this is really something that I hone in on, changing the idea of success and failure and perfection, because that has been so powerful for me. And it's something that I'm still working on too. But I'm so much more aware of it, and being in that space where, perfection is not something that I'm aiming for, was really a turning point for me.
So you're finding that you help people that really want to accomplish something in their lives, but for whatever reason, they just keep sabotaging their own success, whether it be mismanagement of time, or just not understanding how to manage your time well, or really just, all the shiny objects and the overwhelm. So then you just don't follow through on the things. That sounds like the majority of the people that you help. And are they most people who are looking for help in their personal lives or their business lives, or what does that look like?
I think a lot of times when people want to change their habits, again, they're stuck on the surface level why. They're thinking that they want to change it because they see people on social media. They see the aesthetically pleasing routine, whether that be a personal routine with food and working out and whatever, or a professional routine, right? Where they have this beautiful flow of work, especially now that we're all working from home, for the most part. And so they get stuck in this, I want to change it because I want my days to look like that. And so oftentimes they come in with this idea of why they want to change it. And they realize that it's something totally different, right? Because they're staying stuck at the surface level, and we take time to go deep and really uncover your deep why. Why is this important to you? Why do you want to eat healthy? Why do you want to create a consistent well-being practice or workout routine? And, it's a process of being why. And once they get in that space where they keep asking themselves why, they uncover the real reason. And oftentimes I find that it's different than what they really think, why they really think they want to change something, which is really, it's fun to be a part of.
And you do that because you want to tie that underlying motivating factor into the actual goal that they have, that they're trying to accomplish. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah. So I have 3 key kind of topics that I work on with my clients. One of them, finding passion. And that goes into this why. And really finding what that passion is for you, not what it is for everybody else and not what you think it should be. And it's really easy to get confused and to think that that's what you want, but it's really, there's really no emotional connection with that. And that's why a lot of women struggle to stay committed because they are like, oh, well, I see that routine and they're running 5 miles, so I have to run 5 miles, but I hate running, right? Yeah. That's not going to stick for a long time, right? So that passion is the first one. The second one is starting small. And again, this comes back to the overwhelm, taking on too much all at once. Yeah. Starting small sets you up for success. And this is, again, something that's really challenging, especially in a society that's like, if you're not working overtime, you're not working hard enough. If you're not, checking emails all throughout the day, you're not working hard enough. If you're not pushing yourself to the point of like total exhaustion, you're not doing enough. And so I'm totally flipping that and saying, no, take it slow, right? You don't need to rush this. You don't need to push it. And then the third one is giving yourself permission to be flexible and to make adjustments. And again, that's something that is really hard for perfectionists. And a lot of women fall under that category. And this was, again, something that really held me back when I was trying to commit to a different routine or the same routine over and over again. I set this one goal when I was really motivated, and anything less than that was a failure. And I was too stubborn to make adjustments. And so working on that, like literally giving yourself permission. I have a contract that I have my clients print out and sign. And we, go through having so many different options. I have 3 different levels. They're called the detour, the 3 detours, depending on how much time you have, so that you can still follow through on your goal if you're rushed for time. So it's a cool way to shift the meaning and be open to a new perspective.
Yeah, because I think that so many of us, at least I'm guilty of this, can fall into this trap of all or nothing. And so it's either I'm all in, like I'm balls to the walls, or I like can't get myself going at all. Mm-hmm. And there's like no in between. And I'm really working on that. And I find that happens sometimes when we have this really high set goal and we haven't reached it. It can be so deflating, right? That you just want to like give up altogether. And instead of celebrating what's the progress that you've made from the beginning, you tend to just think you're a failure, just like you said, and give up. And so how do you help people? It sounds like you have a strategy with the detour thing to help people keep getting into motion without falling into that all or nothing trap where they just want to be like, I'm out. It didn't work. I'm out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. We go into this habit making process with their end goal in mind, right? Factoring in the find your why. And we always come back to that. And oftentimes people get stuck in, let's say, for example, I made a goal to exercise an hour a day every day of the week, right? Or even 5 days of the week. Oftentimes, if that hasn't worked in the past, that's a big jump to just expect yourself to do that. And so that's when we come into, why do you want to exercise for an hour a day, 5 days a week, right? Because I want to be healthy. And then understanding that habit or that goal of exercising for an hour a day, 5 days a week is not the only way to get to that end goal, to feel healthy, right? To feel energized, to feel motivated so that I can help those around me, et cetera. Whatever that final why looks like, we always come back to that. Because again, it's really easy to get stuck in, well, I made this goal. If I can't follow through on this one, I might as well give up. And so not only just connecting it back to the why, but also having different options and giving yourself permission to choose a different alternative. So like, I want to share an example because again, it's much easier said than done. But this is one that I personally have used for my exercise routine. And so if I'm pressed for time, just not feeling good or something has come up, my one of my detours. So I break it down 5 minutes or less if you're rushed for time. And so 5 minutes or less, it could be just 1 minute of something, right? It doesn't have to be the full 5 minutes. And then the next level is 10 to 20 minutes. And then the next level is 30 plus minutes. So when I'm running out of time and I still want to move my body, my 5 minutes or less is going to my Spotify, picking my pump up playlist, picking one of my favorite songs. That's like 3 minutes, and blasting it and dancing to that, because that boosts my mood. It gets my body moving, and I'm able to celebrate that I am prioritizing mindful movement, even in my busy day, rather than going back to that all or nothing mindset. And I think that transition is challenging, but once you're really connected, right, you have that passion to your deep why, it's much easier to make those adjustments, and know that you're still getting closer to your end goal.
Absolutely. I think I've heard this, stated this way, and it sounds like it's in alignment with what you're saying, that we have our certain non-negotiables that we have decided on for each day, right? So let's just say it's in your business. You want to talk to one person about your business every single day. And so that's your non-negotiable. Like, you don't put your head on the pillow until you do that one thing, right? But if you have a ton of energy, you might get enough energy or time to do 10 conversations that day. And so what I find is that when you can do your one non-negotiable, you can either just celebrate that and be proud of yourself that you didn't fail, because you were impeccable with your word, right? You said, I was going to do my non-negotiable, and I did it. And sometimes what happens is that it motivates you to all of a sudden be like, already I'm up. Like, I'm primed. Like, I do have a couple more minutes. Maybe I can have one more conversation. And so perhaps your 3-minute dance gives you to be like, I'm already up. I bet I could do 5 minutes of sit-ups and push-ups and yoga or something like that. So that it kind of gets that wheel primed a little bit. And so you start to get into action. Do you find that that's, what you normally see in practice?
I think it can go either way. I think it really depends, but oftentimes, like, that first step to actually, like, going to the gym, driving to the gym, or like getting your workout clothes on is the hardest step. And once you kind of get into that flow, then you're like, okay, this feels good, right? I can keep doing this. And so I think this is kind of in alignment with that. I really focus on tapping into your intuition, that gut feeling, and really listening to it. I feel like so often as women, we cut off all of these signals that our body is giving us, and we're not listening to it. And maybe we don't know how to listen to our body because we're not prioritizing that time. And I think this is something that has been really eye-opening for me, somebody that works with women, that we're, meant to adjust our activities based on our cycle. And so often we're not taught about that. And it's, again, the push, grind, hustle, not listening to our bodies. And so that's another really key factor that I prioritize in my coaching is, what does it feel like and sound like when your body says yes, yes, yes? And what does it feel like and sound like when your body says no, no, no? And being able to understand that difference between, like, okay, I need to push myself a little bit harder, and okay, my body is yelling at me that it needs the rest. And so how can I pick a different detour to honor that and to honor the body that I'm in?
I love that so much. You guys, I cannot wait to continue our conversation with Anna, and I want to hear all about ways that she's helping not only the people that she's working with, but I really want to know, Anna, like, what it was that helped you get unstuck, because it sounds like you personally were stuck in this perfectionism, like struggling with follow through and all the things. So I want to hear more about what it is that you personally did after I tell you guys about this thing that I've been working on. My team and I are so stinking excited, and it's all about connecting with you, our listeners. And so you're going to want to take a moment, take a listen to what it is that we're working on, and we're going to get back into our conversation with Anna in just a moment.
Hey, Lachelle here, and I just got to ask you, do you ever listen to podcasts or special training from gurus who are telling you exactly what to do, but you still have questions? Wouldn't it be amazing if you actually could ask questions to the people who are presenting to give you your personalized answer to how you can get into action and apply it to your unique situation? That is exactly why I created the Better Club Elite, which is a very special, very exclusive monthly membership that gives you access to those question and answer sessions that are going to get you into action and get you all lined up with everything that you need to start being better, doing better, and having better in life and in business. The support, the answers, and everything that you need to get you into action. So let's go.
All right, Anna, let's get into it. I want to talk a little bit about your own personal experience because it sounds to me like it was life-changing for you. Not only did you feel stuck way back then, but it actually led you down this path where you are doing this as a profession and you're helping other people along the way. So describe to me a little bit more about how you felt when you were kind of in the middle of that feeling stuck with your habits, and what were some of the things, the key things that you did to get yourself, out of that mindset, out of that habit stuckness, and into the life that you have now?
Yeah. Normally, I would go back and talk about when I was just kind of first focusing on my own routine and figuring it all out.
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about this month because I want to be totally honest. And I feel like sometimes it's hard to hear coaches open up and be vulnerable about where they're at. And I mean, we were talking at the beginning of the session that we both had COVID, and COVID really knocked me out and really totally wiped out my routine. And this is a routine that I had polished all of last year. I pretty much had it perfect. I had it down to the minute, and it really served me in the past year. And I was kind of to the point where I was like, all right, this is easy. I've got it down. This shouldn't be hard for other people. And when I got COVID and didn't have the energy or motivation to do any of my routine, and the residual effects of COVID really hung on for weeks, I was able to refocus and say, okay, I needed this. I think I needed a new slate, and I needed to be humbled to see where my clients are at and to experience it, and to really know that I'm not above it. And I think that was a really humbling experience for me. And in the past, before I had done this whole journey of personal growth and development and habit work, I would have really stayed stuck. And I would have been in my head. I would have been frustrated. I would have been, nagging at myself for not being able to immediately go back to my old routine, which I was tempted to do. But I had to remind myself to take my own advice and to think about my, 3 keys that I shared with you: my passion, starting small, and being flexible with myself. And for a while, I didn't realize it, but I wasn't honoring any of those. And so after doing all of this work and seeing how amazing it was and how transformational it was for me in my life, I was able to harness that in a much quicker way and ask myself, okay, am I still passionate about that routine from last year? Parts of it, yes. Parts of it, no. I was like, okay, beautiful. This is a blank slate for me to kind of start over and do something new and fun and exciting. 2, am I starting small? I did not want to start small. Everything in me was like, go back to exactly what you were doing. And I'm going to be honest, this took a while. My morning routine was 2.5 hours. And I was very committed to it. And it's just not realistic for me to jump back into that. And so I had to remind myself, okay, how can I start small here? And 3, this was, exactly how I needed to be flexible with myself and say, I don't have to go back into, meditating for 15 minutes right off the bat. I can start off at meditating for 5 minutes. And just asking myself throughout the day, when I was tempted to immediately go back to that, and I noticed the judgment on myself of why can't I get back to there right now? Why can't I just do it? Reeling that in, recognizing it, and saying, I can make adjustments here and I can still be successful and work towards my goal. So that's something that's been really real for me recently. And, I just want to share with the listeners that it's normal for this to come up and it's normal for this to happen. And this is also something that I do in my coaching. So often we want to blame the circumstance, right? It could be easy to blame COVID for feeling this way. But really, we have so much more control over that. It's our thoughts about the situation, right? And so I was thinking that, it's all COVID's fault. I have to get back to my old routine right away. What's wrong with me? All of these things. But when I took a step back and I prioritized mindful awareness and that I am not my thoughts, I'm the thinker of my thoughts, and I can change my thoughts. Every second we have the opportunity to choose again. And so that is what I did. But it wasn't easy. And, I think I just want to be open again and vulnerable that even though I'm a habit and well-being coach, I still go through these challenges too. And I have the tools to help navigate it.
One of the reasons, honestly, that I started this podcast. I listened to a podcast episode from someone else. I think it was the Ed Milet show was interviewing this guy named Nick, and he talked about like these amazing things. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is so motivational. He's so inspiring. And then he talked about when he, kind of got sucked into his negative mindset. And that conversation was so impactful for me because it made me take him off the pedestal that I had put him on. Right. And I think that oftentimes we put other people on a pedestal or ourselves on a pedestal, and then we get mad when we let ourselves down. And I don't know if the listeners, if you guys are new to the podcast, but in 2020 was a rough year for all of us, right? With COVID and stuff. And I literally got stuck. I lost my motivation. I lost my mojo, all of the things. And it was a struggle bus for me for a bit. And I finally just got up enough courage to do a podcast episode on me being stuck, because there's so shame around me being stuck when I had the Unstuck podcast. Like, I should be better than this. I have all the tools available to me. What's the matter with me? And all the things. And so I think that it's so powerful for you to share that, because you help us to recognize that even experts have a hard time sometimes, because I think that we get into our heads and think that, okay, well, the experts say that we can build new neurons in 21 days and they can be solidified in the next 63 days or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just assume that everything's going to be so automated that we don't even have to think about it. And that sometimes can happen in a way, but we still are human beings and we still have to give ourselves some of that compassion. And so I'm so grateful. And so to get really detailed and practical, you were sick. What was the first thing that you did? The first thing that you did to help you get back into some type of action?
The biggest thing for me, and I have my dog to be grateful for this, is getting outside and walking. That was, I definitely felt resistance to it because, you don't feel good. You just want to stay in bed. And, for me, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with serving others, right? I'm not making it about me anymore. I'm making it about someone else. And in this case, it's my dog. And so, I would get up and I don't necessarily know if I got dressed. I was very much in my comfy clothes. And I would bundle up. I'm in Colorado, so it's cold. And I would mask up and we would go outside on a walk. And I really always felt better when I was out there on that walk. I got home, I would be exhausted. It was a short walk too, just kind of around the block. But it got me up, it got me moving. And when I was able to think about, okay, I'm doing this for Moose and I'm doing it for me, that was helpful. So finding what that looks like for you. I guess, Lachelle was talking about the non-negotiables. You getting outside and going on a walk and getting my dog movement is a non-negotiable for me. But that looks different every single day. Sometimes it's just in my circle and we walk around the circle a few times. So yeah, I think that was the biggest thing that came to mind that kind of kept me moving and motivated even when I was feeling stuck.
Absolutely. We only have a few more minutes, and I want to be able to dive into really something that I see often in the people that I coach and the people that I consult and the people on my network marketing team that I have, is that you know what to do, right? And people start businesses all the time, but what happens is as an entrepreneur, nobody's telling you to clock in and clock out. And so when you have nobody telling you that you have to show up, it can be really, really hard to show up and have the discipline and create the habits to show up even when you don't feel like it. And so what I see often with small businesses, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether you have a brick and mortar, whether you have, an online business, 95% of business owners end up giving it, throwing in the towel after a few years. I want to close that gap. I want to be part of the solution of helping people to show up and to make their dreams happen instead of giving up on their dreams. And so what advice would you give to somebody who you start a business and it just becomes hard? Maybe you're working that business alongside of your full-time job and you have kids and the groceries still need to be bought and you still have to do the laundry and all of the things become overwhelming. It's really hard to do the things day in and day out. What would you tell that person who's listening?
Yeah, that's a great question because that does come up. I mean, it is inevitable and it is challenging. And I'm going to bring it back to your deep why. Finding that, spending time with that. And I have an awesome audio that I can share if you guys are interested in doing this exercise yourself. It's a 30-minute exercise and it's something that can be done with any aspect of your life. And it's something that should be repeated as well when you're feeling stuck. But really coming back to that why, when you have that passion, that emotional connection with why you're doing something, it makes a big difference in follow through. And we all have off days. And so I found for me, I am not necessarily super productive when my head is elsewhere. And so that's when I go to my detours and I figure out what needs to get done and what is just stuff that I wanted to get done today. So giving yourself that flexibility to focus on, your priorities and make those adjustments. I think there was one more thing that I wanted to say, and I'm blanking now. I'll see if it comes back to me. But yeah, just really finding that connection with your work, understanding that it's okay to have those off days and they're gonna happen, and just being kind to yourself. And I remembered, it came back to me. I love when that happens. I went to this seminar a few years ago as a personal and professional development seminar, and they talked about the equation to success. And it wasn't a trick question or anything. It was, they asked how much of mechanism plus how much of intention equals 100% success. So we had to come up with a percentage for the mechanism, how we do something, the way in which we go about it, and the intention, right? Our drive, our desire, our passion behind it. And it was not a trick question, but it was 0% mechanism plus 100% intention equals 100% success. It doesn't matter how you do it, right? We have point A to point B. It doesn't matter if you walk across the street, if you skip, if you jump, if you walk backwards, right? They're all different ways of getting to your end goal.
Yeah.
All that matters is that your intention to reach that point B stays 100%, right? It doesn't matter how many times you fail, how many times you fall down, committing to finding another way to do it. That for me, especially when I've hit so many walls and I'm like, this is so frustrating. I feel like I've tried everything. Why can't I do it? Being like, all right, these didn't work. Let me find another way. And that mindset to know that success is always there available for me. I just need to figure out how to get to that point.
Yeah. If you want it, if you have enough desire to get to the other end of the road, you're going to figure out a way. And and so many people get caught up on strategy, and it's really just that motivation, that desire that's driving the strategy in the first place. That is so brilliant. Girlfriend, is there anything else that you haven't had a chance to talk about that you really wanted to share before we wrap up?
I would just say, to sum it up, as women, we're so hard on ourselves. And there's so much judgment in what we do, how we do it, how we could have done it better, what we should have said differently. And it's so easy to get stuck in those and to get caught up in those and to play the blame, shame, guilt game, whatever. And so just being in the present moment, really prioritizing that mindful awareness and that presence, not worrying about what has happened in the past, not worrying about what is coming in the future, just being in the moment, and knowing that you have total control. And an all or nothing mindset has nothing on you. You can make a choice to choose again whenever you want. And I think that's the key.
That's amazing advice. Thank you so much. And before we hop off, I always ask my guests to give the audience one question to think about that's going to help them move the dial from where they are to where they want to be. So what would you ask the audience to think about to help them out?
What is your deep why? What is your deep why?
Thinking about why it is that you're doing what you're doing, guys. I am so excited, Anna, that you were able to pop in here with us today and share your insight. It is so fun to learn how we can actually get into action, right? And your habit and your, battling perfectionism and all the things definitely is going to move the needle for so many people. So thank you so much, you guys. We're going to make sure that we have all of the ways that you can connect with Anna inside of the show notes. And we'll make sure that the video that she mentioned is in there as well, so that you have everything that you need to get yourself into action and get unstuck. So until next time, guys, thanks for popping in.
Thank you so much for listening to the Unstuck Podcast. I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. And don't forget to check out the show notes if you want to get into my private club, the Better Club, to be able to learn better ways to be better, do better, and have better. So until next time, keep showing up. Let's get unstuck together. Have a great day.